Most people are fighting belly fat in the dark, following advice that sounds logical but quietly fails them again and again, and the reason is simple but rarely explained the right way. What if the real process of burning belly fat is nothing like workouts promise, nothing like ads show, and nothing like quick tips make it seem? What if belly fat does not burn when you sweat more, or when you suffer more, or when you suffer more, or when you punish your body harder? What if it burns through a hidden sequence inside your body that most people never learn? In this video, you are going to uncover how belly fat actually leaves your body, not in theory, not in marketing language, but in real biological steps that happen every single time fat is lost. You will learn what belly fat really is, why it behaves differently from fat in other areas, and why your body often protects it even when you are doing everything right. You will understand why some people lose weight everywhere except their stomach and why others suddenly see their belly shrink without changing their workouts at all. This video will break down the exact chain reaction that must happen before belly fat can burn, starting from the moment your body decides it needs energy to the moment fat finally exits your system. There are steps in this process that almost no one talks about, steps that explain why shortcuts fail and why consistency sometimes feels unfair. You will also learn why belly fat is often the last to go, not because your body hates you, but because it is wired for survival first. By the end of this video, you will be able to spot bad advice instantly, understand what actually matters, and stop wasting time on methods that look impressive but do nothing for your waist. This is not about blaming effort or discipline. This is about learning how the body works so you can work with it instead of against it. Stay until the end because one small misunderstanding about fat burning causes most people to quit too early, right before results would have started to show. And once you see this clearly, your entire approach to belly fat will change. Welcome to the channel where fitness myths end and real body science begins. If you want clear explanations, honest truth, and content that respects your time and intelligence, make sure you subscribe now so you don't miss what comes next. Belly fat is the place where motivation goes to die because it feels like the rules change the moment the focus moves to the stomach. Arms get smaller, face looks sharper, clothes feel looser, yet the belly stays soft, stubborn, and unmoved no matter how many crunches are done or how clean the diet feels. This creates frustration, not because people are lazy, but because effort does not match results. Many people tighten their routine, cut more food, add more workouts, drink detox teas, follow short challenges, and still see the same reflection. The stomach becomes the symbol of failure, even when the body is clearly changing elsewhere. This is where confusion starts. People assume belly fat is different because it is weak, or because their body is broken, or because they are doing something wrong. The truth is less emotional and more mechanical. Belly fat is stubborn because it is protected, not because it is impossible. Most quick fixes fail because they never address how fat actually leaves the body. They distract with effort, pain, and exhaustion, while the real process quietly depends on signals inside the body that most plans never trigger correctly. To understand why belly fat resists change, the first step is understanding what fat really is, without emotion or judgment. Fat is not a punishment. Fat is stored energy. The body stores extra energy inside specialized cells called adipose tissue. These cells expand when energy intake is high and shrink when energy demand rises. Belly fat is simply a storage location, but it comes in two forms that behave very differently. Subcutaneous fat sits just under the skin. This is the fat you can pinch. It affects appearance more than health. Visceral fat sits deeper, wrapped around internal organs. This type is more active, more responsive to stress hormones, and more closely linked to health risks. The body treats visceral fat like an emergency reserve. It is not there for looks. It is there for survival. Because of this role, the body is more careful about letting it go. This is why belly fat often responds last, not because it is special, but because it is strategic. The body does not care about flat stomachs. It cares about staying alive. Fat cells do not randomly burn. They respond to demand. For fat to shrink, the body must need more energy than it is receiving from food. This state is called an energy deficit. It does not mean starvation. It means demand is higher than supply. When this happens, the body begins to look inward for fuel. Without this condition, fat remains stored, no matter how intense the workout feels. Sweat does not equal fat loss. Muscle soreness does not equal fat loss. Effort alone does not force fat to move. The body only releases fat when it decides energy is needed elsewhere. When food energy is enough, fat stays locked away. When food energy drops below need, the body starts a controlled process to access stored fuel. This process is not instant. It is regulated, step by hormones and enzymes. The first step is a signal. The body senses lower energy availability. Blood sugar stabilizes or drops slightly. Insulin levels fall. This shift opens the door for fat release. Inside fat cells, stored fat exists as triglycerides. These are large molecules, not usable in their stored form. When energy is needed, the body initiates lipolysis. This is the breakdown of triglycerides into smaller components called fatty acids and glycerol. This does not happen randomly or aggressively. It happens carefully, based on demand. Once broken down, fatty acids leave the fat cell and enter the bloodstream. This is a critical moment that most people never learn about. Fat is not burned where it is stored. Belly fat does not melt on the stomach. Fat leaves the belly by entering the blood. From there, it travels to tissues that need energy, such as muscles, the heart, and other organs. These tissues take fatty acids from the blood and move them into their cells. Inside those cells, fatty acids enter the mitochondria, where energy is produced. This energy powers movement, breathing, thinking, and every basic function of life. Fat loss is not a cosmetic event, it is an energy event. As fatty acids are used, the fat cells they came from shrink slightly. Over time, repeated energy demand causes repeated fat release. Gradually, the fat cell becomes smaller. The belly looks flatter, not because fat vanished, but because stored energy was used again and again. This is why consistency matters more than intensity. One workout does not empty fat cells. One day of eating less does not empty fat cells. Fat loss is the result of repeated signals that tell the body energy is needed. Belly fat responds slowly because it often has fewer blood vessels and higher sensitivity to stress hormones. This means fatty acids leave these cells more slowly. They are not locked forever. They are simply slower to respond. When stress is high, sleep is low, or food restriction is extreme, the body becomes defensive. It holds onto belly fat harder. This is why extreme dieting often leads to smaller limbs and a stubborn stomach. The body senses danger and protects its reserves. When the energy deficit is steady, not extreme, the body becomes more willing to release fat over time. This is also why spot reduction does not work. Crunches strengthen muscles under the fat, but they do not create targeted fat release. The body does not pull fat from the area being worked. It pulls fat based on overall energy needs and hormonal signals. Belly fat leaves when the body is calm enough to release it and active enough to use it. This process is invisible day to day. There is no dramatic moment where fat burns. There is only a quiet, repeated cycle of demand and use. Fat enters the blood. Fat gets used. Fat cells shrink. This is the real mechanism behind belly fat loss. Not tricks, not hacks, not punishment. Just biology responding to energy needs, one signal at a time. Belly fat is harder to lose because the body does not treat all fat the same, and this difference starts with blood flow. Fat only leaves a storage area when it can be reached easily by the bloodstream. Areas with high blood flow release fatty acids faster because the transport system is strong and active. The belly, especially deep abdominal fat, often has lower blood flow compared to arms, legs, or face. This means the signals that tell fat to leave arrive more slowly, and the fatty acids that do leave move out at a slower pace. This does not mean belly fat is locked or immune. It means it is slower to respond. The body prioritizes survival, not appearance, and belly fat sits close to vital organs, acting as an energy reserve during stress or scarcity. Because of this, the body often saves it for last. Fat loss follows an order, but that order is not chosen by workouts or motivation. It is influenced by hormones like insulin, cortisol, and adrenaline, and by genetics that decide where fat is stored and released first. Some people lose belly fat earlier, others lose it later. This variation is normal. The mistake people make is assuming that effort should override biology. When belly fat does not move quickly, people assume something is wrong, so they push harder in the wrong direction. This leads to one of the most common myths in fitness, the idea of spot reduction. The belief is simple but false. If a muscle works, the fat on top of it should burn. That sounds logical, but the body does not work that way. Crunches strengthen abdominal muscles. They improve posture and muscle tone. They do not command fat cells above them to release stored energy. Fat cells respond to hormonal signals and overall energy demand, not local muscle movement. When the body needs energy, it pulls fat from many places at once based on circulation, receptor sensitivity, and genetic preference. This is why someone can do thousands of crunches and still have belly fat, while another person can lose belly fat with very little direct core work. The fat loss happens globally, not locally. The belly only changes when the overall system supports fat release long enough for that area to respond. This is also why extreme focus on one area leads to frustration. The body does not listen to commands like that, it listens to conditions. When the right conditions are present consistently, belly fat does burn, even if it feels slow. Certain habits make this process easier, not by forcing fat out, but by improving the signals that allow it to leave. Nutrition plays a major role here, not through restriction, but through balance. Protein intake helps preserve muscle mass during an energy deficit. When muscle is preserved, the body maintains a higher energy demand, which supports continued fat use. Excess refined sugar creates frequent insulin spikes, and high insulin tells the body to store energy rather than release it. Reducing refined sugar helps keep insulin lower and more stable, which allows fat release signals to work more effectively. Carbohydrates are not the enemy, but extremes create problems. Very high intake can block fat release. Very low intake can increase stress hormones and slow progress. Balance allows the body to feel safe enough to use stored energy. Exercise supports fat loss, but not in the way many people expect. Resistance training increases muscle mass or preserves it, which raises baseline energy use. This means the body needs more energy even at rest. Cardio increases energy used during activity and improves circulation, which helps transport fatty acids once they are released. Cardio alone is not magical. Long sessions without recovery can raise stress hormones and backfire. The most effective approach supports the body rather than exhausting it. Lifestyle factors quietly decide whether belly fat moves or stays. Sleep is one of the strongest regulators of fat loss hormones. Poor sleep raises stress hormones and disrupts appetite signals, making the body more defensive with fat storage. Quality sleep lowers cortisol and improves insulin sensitivity, both of which help fat release. Stress management matters for the same reason. Chronic stress tells the body that survival is threatened, and belly fat is closely tied to this signal. When stress remains high, the body holds onto abdominal fat as protection. When stress is managed, the body becomes more willing to release it. As fat loss continues, an important shift happens that many people misunderstand. Fat cells do not disappear, they shrink. Each fat cell becomes smaller as stored energy is used. The number of fat cells stays mostly the same. This is why fat regain can happen quickly if habits reverse. The belly looks smaller not because cells are gone, but because they are deflated. Over time, consistent conditions keep them small. The entire process follows a simple chain, even though the experience feels complex. The body needs an energy deficit. Stored fat breaks down into usable fuel. That fuel enters the bloodstream. It is used by cells for energy. Belly fat responds last, not because it refuses to burn, but because it is protected. There is no way to target it directly. There is only a way to support the system that eventually reaches it. Diet, exercise, and lifestyle work together not as separate tools but as one signal to the body. When that signal is clear and consistent, belly fat does what all fat does. It slowly lets go. Now that you've seen how belly fat actually burns, ask yourself one honest question. Did you learn something new today, or did something finally click that never made sense before? Most people struggle not because they lack effort, but because they follow myths that sound right but work against their body. If one of those myths kept you stuck, drop it in the comments below. Say it out loud. That's how change starts. If this video helped clear the confusion and gave you real answers instead of shortcuts, take 1 second to like the video so more people can see the truth too. Share it with someone who is doing everything right but still feels stuck with belly fat. And if you want more videos that explain the body simply, honestly, and without hype, subscribe to the channel right now. This channel is about science-based truth, not trends, and the next video will help you take this knowledge one step further.